Hey everybody. People always ask me, Manny, what tools should I be using for my Amazon business? Well, this episode is brought to you by Helium10.com. These are the same tools I use to generate 6 figures per month with Amazon FBA. I get keyword research, product tracking, listing optimization, search term tracking, account monitoring, and a lot of other brand new money pulling tools that are going to be released to Helium 10 members on a regular basis. If you're going to grab any tools, check these out. Seriously, get a massive advantage with the tools that top sellers are using right now. Okay, and they're all in one place. Some tools and services will have a user cap, so get in there as quickly as you can. That's helium10.com, Helium10.com.
Warning, the following podcast has been classified as insanely lucrative. Listener discretion is advised.
Sure enough, those words were gone. They were nowhere to be found. So instant loss of sales there, right? Pretty terrible.
Your attention, please. Listening to the AM/PM podcast may cause recurring revenue streams and unfair advantages over your competitors. Other side effects may include fatter wallets, fired bosses, and longer vacations. Listen at your own risk. Here's your host, 7-figure entrepreneur and online marketing madman, Manny Coates. Manny Coates.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AM/PM podcast. My name is Manny Coates, and I will be your host, and this is the show where we discuss how to generate recurring revenue streams 24 hours per day during the AM and the PM, hence the name of the show, AM/PM Podcast. And we do this with Amazon Private Label, guys. As a matter of fact, I was just setting up a brand new microphone for my podcast, and it didn't work. It sounds terrible. So I'm using my old one. But anyways, while I was doing that, while I was setting up that microphone, I was making money. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. So I want to talk about Amazon changing my listing title. Suddenly, for no reason at all, I don't know what happened, I was looking at my listing. I was looking at my sales, actually. I check my sales periodically through the day, right? I think all of us do. And I noticed that they started to fall off. And this is normal, right, guys? I mean, sometimes you have peaks and valleys. So as long as at the end of the day, your numbers are pretty stable, everything's okay. But that didn't happen here. Things were getting worse. So I went into the listing just to check, make sure nothing was going on that's weird. And this is a particular product that's under a brand that I have that's brand registered, right? There's brand registry on it. So I control the listing. Everything's good. There is a seller on there from overseas somewhere, but they never get the buy box. They're underpricing me, but because they're not prime, because they're brand new, and because they are charging shipping and handling, almost nothing happens there. I've tried getting them off, and I haven't really pursued it very heavily because it hasn't been affecting me too much. But that's a whole different story. I found out that it has been affecting me, and I'm going to talk about that in a different episode. And it's a really, really weird thing that had a big impact on me. So we're going to talk about that later. But let's get back to this story. So I checked my listing, and sure enough, my beautiful title, which was well over 100 characters, right? It was full of rich keywords, super awesome. It was now down to 54 characters. It had been truncated down to about a third of what it was. And some of my best keywords were gone, okay, the ones that were in the title. And that was clearly affecting things. And it was affecting things for a variety of reasons. I'm going to talk about those. But the first one, obviously, is that Amazon gives you really good keyword ranking if those keywords are in your title. It's the number one place you could have it. So by them removing them, I was no longer getting sales when people were doing those searches. In fact, when I ran the 5K checker from Helium 10 on the front end of my product, because I just wanted to see, let's check to see what I'm actually being indexed for. Sure enough, those words were gone. They were nowhere to be found. So instant loss of sales there, right? Pretty terrible. And so what it seemed like Amazon did is they went out. The way I do my titles is I always start with my brand name. Okay, and then I have my product name, and then I have a comma, and then I have some kind of a feature, if it's made out of wood or glass or whatever it is, a comma, and then I have some other stuff. I try to get some good keyword density in there in terms of my solid stuff, the things that are going to represent the majority of my sales. And those were gone. They took it out to like the first comma, and then after the first comma, they just deleted everything. So I'm like, man, this sucks. So I go back into my product listing, right? On the back end, I go in to edit it. And sure enough, the title is the way it was the last time I had it, okay? But it's not what's showing up in the live site on Amazon. So that's weird. And changing anything or trying to resave it when you're editing the product doesn't update the product, the listing, I should say. So this is a big pain. I've never had to deal with something like this before. I've gone, luckily, 9 months without having to deal with any kind of major edits from Amazon. And they locked the account essentially, or they didn't lock the account, sorry, they locked that particular product from me being able to edit it, which is really weird because I have brand registry on it. And then I thought, well, maybe they thought that I was doing something weird in the title. I was spamming too much. But anyways, I was talking to some of my friends that do this kind of stuff, and Kevin King is one of the guys that has had this happen to him quite a bit. And the suggestion was to contact seller support, right? And then once you get to seller support, don't talk to seller support because you're not going to get anywhere, right? You guys know this. So when you talk to seller support, ask to speak to the catalog department. And they don't just transfer you over to the catalog department. Nobody in the catalog department wants to talk to people unless there's a real reason to do so. Typically, they'll deny the request. So they're going to ask for information, verify your bank account, get all this, just authenticate who you are. Then they want to know the details, and then eventually they submit it. And if they accept you, they transfer you. And that's what happened. I got transferred. And long story short, the guy I spoke to was really cool, right? And he basically wasn't quite sure why they had done that. But he could see that somebody there did do that and had locked that particular product. And so he changed it back, unlocked it, and I was back in business. Now, I thought I was back in business. What ended up happening was weird. I didn't notice it until several hours later. All the back-end search terms that I had them down to 2,000 characters that were super optimized and really cool, right? Those were all gone. What was there now was my original list of keywords, which was 5,000 characters worth of just a bunch of stuff, right? A lot of it was not the most relevant data. It was really mucking up my pay-per-click. And so I had cleaned that up at some point. And I didn't make a backup of that, the 2,000 characters. Once I had it in the system, I don't know what I did with it. I thought I had it in Evernote or something, but I couldn't find it. So it was gone. So now I have 5,000 characters in my back end, okay? And when I say back end and front end, in case you guys aren't familiar with those terms, the back end means the 5,000 characters worth of search fields. Okay, the search terms on the back, you have 5 fields of 1,000 characters. That's the back end. The front end is everything that the customer sees when they go to your product listing page. So that's the bullets, that's the title, the description, that kind of stuff. So that's the front end and the back end. So I have 5,000 characters now on the back end, which is not good, guys, because we've talked about this before. Amazon does not like anything more than about 2,000 characters. If you put more than 2,000 characters on the back-end search terms, then you're going to most likely have a struggle in trying to get those things indexed. Okay. Suddenly, if you go to like 3,000 characters, certain keywords or entire fields, like the entire search field, will just break and they won't be indexed. So I always say keep it under 2,000 characters. Well, I have 5,000, and it was all mixed up, right? It was all over the place. The misspellings and all kinds of good stuff with stuff that's really not that good. This was stuff that I had put in there way back in the day, right? Whenever they reverted to. So I'm like, oh man. I went to go look for, the original 2,000 characters that I had cleaned up and made really pretty and nice and optimized, and no, I couldn't find it. Apparently I got rid of it. So I had to start all over, okay? Optimizing everything, splitting off the misspellings, because back then Amazon wasn't doing a lot of misspelling autocorrecting with the misspellings. Now they're doing quite a bit more. So a lot of the misspellings that I have in those 5,000 characters aren't even needed, okay? Those misspellings are probably being autocorrected, so I have to go through and check those first of all and delete the ones that are being autocorrected and only use the ones that are not being autocorrected. So that's a whole process that I have to do there. The second thing is I, of course, ran the entire front end through Helium 10's 5K checker. So I just grabbed the title, the bullet points, and the description. I grab all of that content, I paste it into Frankenstein. Okay, that's at Helium 10. It's a free tool. It's used to dedupe and clean up lists. So I'll go from all of those keywords down to just individual keywords. Very quick, right? It takes 2 seconds with Frankenstein. So then I take that list and I bring that into 5K Checker on Helium 10, and then 5K Checker will check to see if I'm indexed. And I found very quickly that there were some leaks. Some of the keywords on the front end were not indexed, okay, which means I'm not going to show up in any search results when someone does those searches, and they were pretty good words, so I had to fix that. And the way to fix that, obviously, is to, shouldn't say obviously, it's obvious to me because I've been doing this, but if it's not ranking when you have it on the front end, if it's in your description, try moving it into your bullet point. If it's not ranking your bullet point, maybe it's something you can put into your title. If it won't fit anywhere there, try moving it into the back end, on the 5,000 characters on the back end. And you can shift things around, save it, wait about 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then recheck indexing, okay? And you can do this manually. I have a video that shows you how to do this manually. It's very slow, it takes forever. Or if you've got very little time like me, just run the 5K Checker tool, be done with it in just minutes. So that's what I did, guys. Got everything optimized. Now here's an interesting thing. I had a lightning deal set up for this morning. Okay, it was going to hit at 6 a.m. Now all of this stuff happened yesterday. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. This was my first lightning deal. And I'm like, if I go in and I start tweaking things and changing things and I save it, is that going to break the lightning deal to where it's going to get sent to somebody for approval? I didn't know. But I couldn't have it go to the lightning deal the way it was set up. Even the images were goofed up. There was duplicate images, 2 images that were duplicated. So I had to delete one and go back and change some stuff. So it was weird. I don't know what happened. I don't know if this has ever happened to Kevin or any of those guys that do this, but mine was really messed up. Finally got everything fixed. Man, I was up until almost 3 in the morning because I knew 3 hours later the lightning deal was going to hit. And sure enough, everything was updated and cleaned, and the lightning deal took off and it finished. And it's only 5:30 p.m. today, so I still have got 6.5 hours left worth of sales. And if I click over to my sales right now, take a look, typically my sales are somewhere around between 4,000 and 5,000 seems to be average, right? Yesterday was 4,500. Same day last week was also 4,500. And today we're at 13,200. So decent day. I would say an excellent day, but decent day in terms of the lightning deal. I can talk about that more at a different time and what I did and to set things up. And I will be talking about that because that hijacker that I mentioned earlier affected the lightning deal. Now, and it's a really, really weird thing that I think almost nobody knows about. Everybody I talked to did not know about this issue. So I'm going to talk about that in a different episode, and probably the very next episode, in fact. And so good day. I'm going to check profit levels just to make sure everything's solid. I use Hello Profit for that, guys. And that's my story for the day. I thought it was pretty cool. If this happens to you, the steps are get in touch with somebody over in the catalog department. So you got to go through Seller Support, have them call you back on your phone. And then when you're actually talking to somebody, ask to speak to the catalog department. And then from there, you can go in and have them change stuff. And sometimes you won't even know that they've locked your account or locked your product. I got an email that says something was changed, and luckily I found it. It didn't go into spam or anything like that. But I was speaking to somebody else today where they couldn't get 5K Checker to work. Like nothing that they were checking was being indexed, and they didn't understand why. And the reason was that they were changing stuff on the back end, but it wasn't really affecting the actual listing. So then we were like, well, why don't you change something on the front end that you can see, one of the bullet points or something, save it, come back in about 30 minutes to an hour and see if it's updated, and it didn't. So they knew something was going on there as well. So when this happens, it can really affect things a lot. Anyways, guys, that's it. Check out the tools I mentioned if you are interested. If you're not part of our Facebook group, it's called the Amazon FBA High Rollers. Over 7,000 people in there, active community. I learn stuff in there every single week. There's always somebody that's knowledgeable about one specific thing that I have no clue about, and they drop golden nuggets. So go check that out. If you don't want to do a search on Facebook for FBA high rollers, then just go to our website and click the link from there. The website is ampmpodcast.com. Okay, AM in the morning, PM in the evening, right? ampmpodcast.com. And there'll be a Facebook link over on the right-hand side. Follow me on Periscope. It's at Manny Coates. And what else? Man, if you like these podcasts, then please definitely leave a review on iTunes. You know, I don't get a lot of those. So when somebody does that, I notice it. It really it brightens up my day. It's kind of cool. But anyways, guys, I'll talk to you guys next time. And I think next time it will be about that little hijacker. And we'll talk more about how it affected my my lightning deal today. All right, take care.
You've been listening to the AM/PM podcast hosted by Manny Coates. For more information, insider tools, and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit ampmpodcast.com.